Hey guys, it's Brand. I'm back with my son Steven.
Hello.
And we had so much fun doing the live video together that we decided we were going to team back up for Destroyer. This is one of the albums that I introduced Steven to whenever I first introduced him to Kiss. This is, I believe, was this the first album or was it the second?
You had mentioned Destroyer before, but I think basically I just heard about both of them at the same time, so I picked up a live first because I like to get an impression from a band from live. Right. So I by proxy I picked that one first.
Well, so there you have it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get right into it. We're going to talk about Kiss Destroyer, and we're also going to cover we're going to cover Kiss Resurrected at the same time. Talk about the differences and what we like from one to the next. So let's get right to it. Kiss Destroyer was produced by Bob Ezrin. He had worked with Alice Cooper and produced Welcome to My Nightmare for Alice. The album was engineered by Jay Messina and Corky Sazak. Bob had found out about Kiss from a high school kid who used to call him and talk to him about new bands, and he went and saw Kiss in Michigan. Now, a lot of people at the beginning of this think that the newscaster is Gene. In the very first track, Detroit Rock City, there's this whole thing they start off, and Destroyer was kind of Kiss they were trying to make Sgt. Pepper in a way, and Destroyer is Bob Ezrin's brainchild. If you listen to some of the demos, and I'm gonna play a little bit of the demos as we get later on in, Kiss was going in a more rock direction. If Kiss had not met Bob to make Destroyer, I think that Destroyer would have been kind of a hybrid between Dress to Kill and Rock and Roll Over. It wouldn't have been a concept album. It wouldn't have been this grandiose album that it was. So basically, this album is Bob Ezrin's brainchild. And at the very beginning of the song, you hear somebody talking on the radio, doing a newscast. And a lot of people think that's Gene Simmons. But Gene Simmons has actually said that it's Bob Ezrin, and Bob Ezrin has said that it is him. Now, Bob recorded this whole open sequence using a 360 mic to record everything, and it's actual truck starting. They don't use sound effects. It's not a cassette either. It's actually the live version of Rock and Roll All Night broadcast over a low-powered FM transmitter that they had set up in the studio. Now, Live had hit it big at this point, and Kiss wanted to capitalize on this, but wanted to do something different. So they decided to employ Bob to produce. Now, they started rehearsals in late August of '75. They went to the record plant in New York on September 3rd through the 6th during a break between the Dress to Kill and Alive tours to record basic tracks. This is where they recorded a lot of the demos. Then they were back in the studio from late December until early February to record the rest of the album. The album was released in the U.S. on March the 15th. Now, Ezrin was not like any other producer Kiss had ever worked with. He initiated what was called a boot camp. He wore a whistle. He would tell them every morning, campers, it's time to go to work. He basically beat them like they were dogs, literally. He would not physically beat them, but literally beat them. At one point in time in the recording, he halted recording to give them music theory because they were such sloppy players. And so he used to set a box over a microphone in the control stand, and he'd hit it with a drumstick to keep Peter in time. And in my opinion, Destroyer is some of Peter's best drumming. I mean, the drumming on Detroit Rock City alone is just phenomenal.
Yeah, Peter has some really powerful pieces in this album. He really does. And it's probably one of the best examples that we get of playing from Peter. And unfortunately, it's probably one of the last of the best experiences that we get from Peter.
Yeah, he seemed to in the following albums, the Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun, it's almost like he took a step down from, and I think it was because of Bob. I think this, like I said, this album, you got to really give praise to Bob Ezrin for this album, because Bob Ezrin was the creative force behind this album. He was involved in a lot of the songwriting on this album. He ingrained himself into the recording, the producing, the engineering, the vision of what the album was going to be and what he was going to make it be. Paul later compared the experience of working with Ezra as a musical boot camp, as I said, but he said that the group came out a lot smarter and better for it. Simmons echoed the statement by stating it was exactly what the band needed at the time. Now, Kiss was still very young during this time. You have to remember, Paul was only 23, Ace was 24, Gene was 26, and Peter was 29 when work started on Destroyer. And I couldn't imagine being 23 years old and working on this album. And then what that makes me think is the other albums, they were younger. You know, they were kids still at this point. But even then, they would have, earlier albums, they'd have been 20, 21 years old, you know?
Yeah, whenever they accomplished what they did with this album, they were my age.
Right.
Paul was, 23, you said, during this album?
Right.
I mean, that's how old I am.
Right.
So I mean, they were really pulling off some incredible stuff at this time.
Right. The album peaked at 11 on May the 15th, 1976, and it spent an initial 21 weeks on the charts, then dropped off the charts, but the album charted again a second time after the surprise hit single Beth, which was the B-side to Detroit Rock City. It climbed up the Billboard singles charts and peaked at number 7 on September 4th, 1976. Then the album spent another 57 weeks on the charts, going as high as 37 before dropping off the charts again in November of 1977. Now, this album was certified gold on April 22nd, 1976, then scored platinum very short after on November 11th, 1976, and then double platinum in 1996. This album produced the band's first gold single, Beth, that was certified gold with 500,000 copies sold on January 5th, 1977. There were 3 singles released before Beth: Shout It Out Loud, Flaming Youth, and Detroit Rock City. To many, Destroyer is considered the definitive Kiss album. This is a lot of bands. This is like, this is the Kiss album. Now, if it's my Kiss album or his Kiss album, we'll find out. Now, there are some additional musicians and performers that work on the album, and I'm going to talk about them as we get to the songs they're on. So, we're going to talk a little bit about the cover art, and we talked about how we were talking before we started filming about how we wanted to do this. Talk a little bit about the cover art. Now, when I say the original cover art, it's kind of confusing because this is the original release cover art. But when you talk about the original painting, it is the one that appears on Resurrected. And Kiss, initially, they rejected this one because they felt because of the stuff in the background, it was too violent. And it also depicted them in their Dress to Kill touring outfits, and they wanted to update it. There was also some things that they changed, like more noticeably Ace's face. I was telling Steven, joking around with him, Ace looks like he's got Asperger's in this. Ace's face is a lot better. And you were telling me something about what you prefer about these albums?
Yeah, I was actually thinking if you could just kind of split each album down the middle. You take Paul and Peter from the Resurrected cover, and you take Ace and Gene, and that would be my ideal, because I think that the Gene and Ace don't really show out as much on this one, and just the way that, I don't know, I guess it's kind of the leotard look that Paul and Peter have. I just like them better this way. It seems more classic, even though if it is from a previous album's tour.
Yeah. Yeah, and they look the same on the back. I've got my album out, but they look, this one's sealed, but they look the same on the back. Track listing is the same on both of them. And there's a difference in the albums, recording-wise and mixing-wise. We'll get to that, but... that's painted by Ken Kelly, who also would return to paint the other famous cover for the band, Love Gun. And we'll talk about that cover when we get to that album. Okay, so that's enough about talking about the album and the history and everything. Let's get to what we really want to talk about. Let's get to the songs, okay? The songs. So we're going to start with track 1, Detroit Rock City.
DRC.
Now, I freaking love Detroit Rock City, okay?
I knew you were going to say that second we were going to start this.
I'm going to gush like a schoolgirl here for just a minute, okay? I freaking love Detroit Rock City. It is one of my favorite Kiss songs. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you out there before I even get my score out. Wow, it's an amazing song. It sets the tone for this album. The beginning of it, when it's about a minute and a half long, getting to the part where it actually starts, and Steven, said that he didn't know that had it on there, but it kind of just sets the stage for this album. But just Paul's vocals, the guitar, the drums, Peter's drums in this is one of the first Kiss songs that I ever heard. Because I can't remember which album I got first. I got them both around the same time, but both albums I first heard had Detroit Rock City on it. One was Kiss Alive 2, and one was Destroyer. So I got a double dose of Kiss Alive. I got a double dose of Detroit Rock City very early, but it's just amazing. The guitar solo, which was written by Bob Ezrin. This song, and I'm going to play a little bit of the demo right here. Now, if you hear on that demo, you can see that this song, Bob, is just as much of this song. He's actually credited as a writer. He's just as much a writer and the inspiration behind this song than Paul Stanley is. And this song would not be the same without Bob. He wrote the solos. He wrote a lot of the arrangement of it. And Paul and Ace play the lead together on it. It's just an amazing song. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that this is my first 10. This is my first 10.
Wow.
Because to me, this song is perfection, from the opening tools around in the toolbox to the auto crash and the screeching tires at the end and everything in between. This song is perfection to me. Wow. Now, what you say, it's a 5.
No, no, I didn't give it a 5 actually. Like he said, I didn't even know that the intro to the song was the way it was, because I've always heard this song on the radio, classic rock stations, stuff like that. And of course on the radio they never play the intro to anything that has no substance to the song. So when I did start my listen through for this, it was kind of surprising, and I'm like, this opens up how a concept album would open, which is what Destroyer inevitably is. So I gave it an 8. It's a good song, and one thing that's really stuck out, because I've been listening through all the Kiss albums as he's been doing the reviews, the solo in this song has so much more conviction than any of the solos on the previous albums. It's played... Ace kind of plays mindlessly on his solos, and that's okay, a lot of the time for the kind of music they play. But with this song, the way the solo is written, the way that Bob composed the solo for the song was stellar. Absolutely knocked it out of the park. So and that's the one thing that sticks out like a sore thumb when you first listen to the song, is just how restrictive that the solo is about what kind of notes it uses, the harmonies that you get from Paul and you get from Ace. But yeah, I give it an 8. It's a really good song. Probably one of the first Kiss songs I ever heard before I listened to Kiss.
And you gave me a good idea for upcoming video. We're going to do a top whatever list of the best Ace guitar solos.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a good one. That'd be a good one.
I'd enjoy that. All
right. So now we're going to move on to track number 2. We're going to move on to King of the Nighttime World. Now, you have to love a song that begins with a car crash. I always love the drive of this song. Everything from the driving drums to the guitar riffs, Paul's vocals, the solo. This was Kiss becoming who they could be between Detroit Rock City and this song. Now, the rough outline was written by two other people named Kim Fowley and Mark Anthony and Paul and Bob Ezrin finished out the song. And Bob liked to submerge himself in the recording of the album, even getting involved in songwriting. I would score this song. I really like Detroit Rock City. I really like King of the Nighttime World too. These are bookends for me. I mean, it's almost like Hotter Than Hell, which we skipped scoring on our last review. And Hotter Than Hell and Firehouse. You know, you have Detroit Rock City and King of the Nighttime World. To hear one without the other, to hear Detroit Rock City end and King of the Nighttime World not start, or to have King of the Nighttime World start without Detroit Rock City being in front of it, it doesn't sound right.
This is one of the only Kiss albums, I think, that you can not put on shuffle.
Right.
Because
I agree and I disagree. You have to have these two songs together. But I do have some issues with the track listing, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But the only reason I don't score this song a 10 is because towards the end, they're just singing the chorus, I'm a king of the nighttime world, and you're my headlight queen. And they repeat that over and over, repeat and fade out. And that was really big to do in the 70s. There was a lot of that repeat chorus and repeat and fade. And I'm not a big fan of that. I like how they end it on Kiss Alive too. But
this kind of sees like a cop-out strategy.
Right.
I don't want to write an outro. So.
Yeah, just fade it out a little quicker, Bob, you know. So other than that, I give this song a 9. I don't give it a 10 because of that. And so
here's your 5. I give King of the Nighttime World a 5 because the chorus gets on my nerves. I almost skipped it almost every time I listened to it. And I'll probably get some flack for this, but I don't really read a lot of comments, so it's okay. Other than that, I agree on your stance with hearing one song to the next. And I will listen to the song up to the chorus, and then I might listen through a chorus or two, but once you start getting later in the song...
what about the solo?
The solo in the song is good. I don't like it as much as Detroit Rock City.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like this one was taken as much control of. I feel like Ace was given a little more freedom on this solo.
You definitely hear more Ace in this solo.
That's just my opinion.
Repetitive.
It sounds like an Ace solo, but that's okay because it's not Kiss's Bob Ezrin. Bob Ezrin's Kiss.
Right.
It's Kiss. And Ace Frehley isn't Kiss, so that's okay.
So this is a 5 for you.
This is a 5. I'm sorry.
All right. We're going to move on to track 3. We're going to move on to God of Thunder. Now, God of Thunder was originally written by Paul to be sung by Paul. And the story goes that Paul wanted to write a Gene-like song because it originally had lyrics like, I live for pleasure and fun, and we'll make love till we bleed. But Bob convinced Paul to rewrite it and give it to Gene, and the rest is history, and the demon was born. Now, I'm going to play a little bit of the demo right here so you can hear the difference.
Just got something I need. Love Aphrodite. We'll make love till we bleed.
As for my feelings of this song, I like it okay. It's dark, it's creepy, it's almost like you're being stalked by you listen to this song in the dark. It's almost like a song version of a horror movie. It's got that, that dun 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 dun, and they've got all those sound effects, and Bob Ezrin's kids are in there saying all kinds of stuff, and he sped their voices up.
I hate that. That's
and
weird.
the kids get on a lot of people's nerves. To me, there's a couple times that they make it creepy, but for the most part, they get on my nerves too. And honestly, I know this is the song that birthed the demon, but if you listen to that demo, if you go on YouTube and find the demo I just played you a little bit of clips from, I like the speed of it. It's faster. I think this would have been a better Paul song. Now, don't shoot me over that. You can throw the hateful comments you want at your below, if you want to below. That's just my opinion. But I respect this song for what it is. It is what gave us the demon persona, and it was, Gene's coming out as the demon and everything, and he was the demon from pretty much here on out. But I only score it a 6. So what about you?
So, my one problem with this song is this song gives Gene basically the permission to use the cliche that he uses throughout the rest of the albums, which is his really... He uses it some on previous albums, like in Cold Gin. He does have that raspiness, but none like this song. Yeah! None like this song. And there's at least one song, I believe, on every album from here on out that has that one Gene song where he has to use the demon voice. Exception. Well, I guess there's a couple.
Yeah.
I give this song a 6, which is, by the way, if any of you were wondering, we don't know each other's scores before it.
No.
We don't.
We don't compare notes ahead of time.
No, not at all. So it just so happens that we like this song about the same. It doesn't really do anything for me personally, but it's not a song I would ever skip. But it's not really the song. There is another Gene song that gives me kind of this same feeling in a much later album, but I like that song far more than this one.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know what that song is, but we'll find out when we eventually get to it.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to go on to the next song. We're going to go on to Great Expectations. So what happens when you pair Gene Simmons, who has written songs like Stanley the Parrot and My Uncle is a Raft, with an imaginative and sometimes overly creative mind like Bob Ezrin? You get Great Expectations, and it sucks. Okay? I'm having to read my notes from this because I wanted to say this exactly how I wanted to say it. It was written by a view of the member of the band as a song to the fans. It features the Brooklyn Boys Choir, Kiss, with a boys choir. At this point, I'm all for making a concept album and expanding, but the boys choir, it was over the top. To me, I don't think it fits or belongs on the album. But having said that, I can't say I hate the song. Because there are songs in the Kiss repertoire that I hate with a passion. And I dread reviewing them. But this is one that I don't really like. It doesn't fit on this album. And I think they went just a little too overboard with it. I don't like the way Gene sings, like Steven was saying. He just came off, yeah. And now you're sitting in your sleep. It's like, really? You just went from being the god of thunder to using the word breast? I mean, I'm actually ripping that off because some friends of mine in their video, they were talking about that. And and I was like, and I'm going to give them credit, Dark Ride Films, Amy and Andy. I know you're watching. But when they said that, I was like, yeah, that's right. He went from saying he's going to rob you of your virgin soul to talking about touching your breast. And it's like, ooh, I went from being the demon to, oh, your breast. And it's like, really, Gene? Really? Stanley the Parrot? My Uncle's a Raft? Come on now. So I gave this song a 3.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I gave it a 3. Like I said,
I don't know if I expected lower or higher. I was like, this is going to be a 2 or a 4. I hit right in the middle.
Yeah. What about you? He's going to call it a 9.
I give it a 5, actually.
Yeah? What do you like? What do you not like?
First of all, so whenever I did my serious listening for these albums, I kind of go through once and really kind of dissect what Ace is doing, because that's really what I want to focus on, because he's got all the hard facts and those type of things, but I really want to focus on what Ace is doing. And the song is good. It's a good song if you listen to it without the lyrics. But then I went through a second time and listened to like the lyrical content really prominently, and I was like, this is strange to me. And any type of Kiss songs that are really about this kind of theme are the ones that I tend to gravitate away from. So, but I honestly thought I would score this lower than you, but I give it a 5, only for the music though.
It does. If you take away the choir, Ace has some really good little miniature solo in there.
He's got a lot of like little fast licks in there.
And like I said, but the lyrical content, the way Gene sings it, maybe reworked with a different producer on a different album, maybe a higher score for me. Maybe it makes its way to a 5. But on this album, the way it is,
Is that your biggest
me.
problem? That it's on this album?
Yeah, it's on this album.
What album would you like to see it on?
Any other one.
Any other one?
Not this one.
Not this one.
To me, this is one of the songs that makes Destroyer. It's going to really hurt the score on Destroyer for me, and you're going to be probably either surprised or shocked or pissed off at my other one, but you'll find out soon enough.
I feel like this would be really placed on Dress to Kill.
Probably could make a good place on Dress to Kill. It wouldn't be good on Kiss.
It wouldn't be good on Hotter Than Hell either.
Or Hotter Than Hell.
It's really dark.
No, and if I tell some of those people out there who really love Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun that it belongs on one of those albums, they'd probably shoot me.
If they found out where you lived, you'd have to.
Right. So, so we're just going to, maybe Dress to Kill.
Yeah,
but,
that's the safest bet.
Right. So you gave it a 5.
I give it a 5. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next song. We're going to flip the vinyl, and we're going to move on to Flaming Youth. Now, Flaming Youth, I love the way this song just kicks in, and I love the soaring guitar riff and the lyrics and the way Paul sings. I like the driving drums in it. I felt like Kiss was trying to connect with their core listeners and fans with this song. I'm not the biggest fan of how the chorus sounds. It's like the verse is driving with the pedal down, and then they get to the chorus and they ease up on the gas, roll the windows down, take a Sunday drive. I really like the lift between the chorus and the verse under the guitar solo. It's kind of a throwback to that old Kiss. It's like dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
But it's hard to believe how far removed they sound at this point, other than that from their first 3 albums. Dick Wagner contributed to this song, but it's been said that he either provided the overdubs or he did the solo. I'm not real sure which he actually did. The solo sounds Ace-ish, but ish. It sounds Ace-ish.
Yes.
Almost like a Tommy Thayer-ish, trying to rip Ace off-ish kind of now these days. This solo very well could be the other. There's another song on here that Dick Wagner is known for doing the solo on. But I think that Flaming Youth could have also been a Dick. He's credited in many things that I see as doing overdubs, but I have seen one where he's flat out somewhere online where he's flat out credited as doing the solo.
Right.
Now, Bob Ezrin played that Calliope, that little thing during where they kind of break the solo down, and I don't really like that at the end where they Flaming Youth set the world on fire, and then Gene does that high fire. I'm just like, Gene, really? Man. But I like this song when they've got the foot on the gas.
Yeah,
but when they take the foot off the gas on this song, and once again, I think that's Bob. That's that Bob influence. It really hurts the song for me. So I scored this song a 6.
Okay. I scored it an 8. Despite the driving force of the song being the verse rather than the chorus, I do agree that it should be flipped. Not all songs have to follow a formula, but if you're gonna write a song about youth, you either make the whole thing drive, or you lighten up a little bit on the verse, drive it through the chorus, and maybe break it down in the bridge. or something like that.
Yeah, they do kind of break it down in
They
that
break-
bridge,
the bridge.
where it's just a repeating of the chorus. But yeah,
You break it down in the bridge a little bit, and then you know.
but then at the end, where Paul's going higher and higher and higher and higher,
Yeah,
and then they go back into that.
then they really-
I mean, it's just this song has so many good parts to it. Yeah,
It's a good song.
I actually think that Flaming Youth could have been the name of this album. Rather than naming it Destroyer, I think this could have been called Flaming Youth. I think Flaming Youth could have been the title track. That's just me.
Yeah.
Even though it's not a song that I like, that I overly like, but I think it would have been a good song for Kiss.
For me, you made the statement about Alive. You said, "Let Me Go Rock and Roll" would be your song that you showed someone off this album if they asked. Flaming Youth would be the song I showed someone off this album.
Okay, cool. All right, so anything else for that one?
Nope.
All right, so we're going to go to the next song. We're going to go to Sweet Pain. Now, unless you've ever really listened to the lyrics of this song, you may not realize that this is actually a BDSM song. That's what I take away from it, at least. This is one of the songs that Gene wrote that shows he's still not afraid to dive into a little bit deeper and darker subject matter. If you listen really good to the lyrics, he's talking about being in leather, always having a whip. He talks about showing who he's singing to, about loving them in a different way, and that she will learn to love him in his sweet pain. This is the one that Dick Wagner was on, the solo, because Ace did record a solo for it, but Bob rejected it, said it wasn't good enough. He did invite Ace to come back in and re-record it, but Ace was at a card game. Everybody knows that famous story. So had Dick Wagner come back in, which he's worked with Dick Wagner on Alice Cooper's albums. As far as this song goes, I really like this song. This song also features female background singers. I'm not a big fan of the background singers, but
Feels really out of place.
It feels very 70-ish.
I think this is the first time they've introduced female vocals, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm not sure if somebody knows differently on one of the first 3 studio albums. Comment below, let us know, educate us. We don't mind being educated. But I score this song a 7.
I give it a 5. This may be because I'm a lot younger than you, but was a subject matter like this kind of taboo in the 70s? Like to write a song, released publicly about something like this?
Yeah.
This is not something a band would
Yeah,
normally do.
you're coming out of the 60s and, so you're in the middle of 70 here, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's the one thing I find kind of strange is that they chose to write a song, which, Kiss is probably one of the biggest rebelling bands in the world against all odds. So, it's not very surprising they would write a song like this, especially Gene, of all people. But the subject matter is kind of uncomfortable for people who are like, ooh, this is strange. And I'm not the biggest fan of the song. Mm-hmm. But again, not one I would skip. I would just be like, let's listen to the music.
It's got some good riffs.
Yes.
It's got some good riffs,
Yes. I'm actually not that big of a fan of the solo, though.
Yeah, and it's got that offbeat, that da-da-na, 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 that offbeat kind of thing, where it's a different time, and Kiss playing out of 4/4, was kind of, stretching them a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, yeah.
It gives them a different sound that you're not used to from Kiss, which is nice. But if you take musicians who aren't very used to playing too out of time, it can, not that you hear it on the album, but it can be a strain to them because it's alien almost. Mm-hmm. Some bands almost exclusively play in 4/4 time or just anything like that. Offbeat stuff is just not some musicians can do.
Mm-hmm. So what'd you score it?
5.
5.
Yeah, I said that at the beginning, but
oh, okay, all right, cool. I'm old, so I already forgot.
that's okay.
Okay, so we're going to go on to the next song. We're going to go to Shout It Out Loud. I really like Shout It Out Loud. This is a better anthem song for me than Rock and Roll All Night.
Really?
Yeah, it just, when I heard it today, I was listening to it today coming home from work, and when it started, and it just starts that da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Now, a lot of people, it's been done by everybody, and it's here and there, and a lot of people are jaded towards it and everything, but it's just a good song. It's one of their show closers at the time, and it's just a good song. I really like it a lot. I put in my notes here. I like the riff. I like the lyrics. I love the way Paul sings. I really like Ace's solo, and I give this song a score of 8.
Okay, that's fair. We're about on the same page with that. I give it a 7. Although I did score Rock and Roll All Night lower, and I scored this higher, I'm kind of using the rest of the album as a context a little bit. These are on the same level for me. They were, I believe that they were written for the same purpose. And although Flaming Youth sounds more to like a Call of Arms song than this one, this one definitely, it drives it the whole way. It's like my comment I made earlier. Flaming Youth does slow down during the chorus, and you lose that bit of smack that it needs to be an anthem song. If you want to be an anthem song, you basically have to be, first of all, it has to kind of be like a people-pleasing song. It has to be written in such a way that masses of people will enjoy it.
Aesthetically pleasing to the masses.
Yes. And like you said that about Rock and Roll All Night. It has to be written in such a way that it's pleasing to everyone, and it has to be easy to listen to, easy to remember.
Kiss it. Keep it simple, stupid.
And it's a good song. This isn't my favorite solo on the album by any means, but good riffs, solid riffs. It's good. It's good work from Ace and Paul. Who wrote this song? Paul.
I think it was written by Paul. I don't have that right in front of me, but I believe it was written by Paul. Yeah. I don't know if Ezrin was involved in it. I don't have it in my notes, believe it or not, but it's either written by Paul or is written by Paul and Bob Ezrin.
The lyrics are very Paul. Lyrics. So I would be willing to bet. Comment section.
Comment section. Let us know. I'll probably look it up after we get done, but comment section, feel free.
Yeah.
So
next track.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the next track, Beth. Now, remember I said there's another song on this album that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I'd probably catch a lot of crap for it? It's Beth.
Wow. What a surprise.
I respect Beth. It made Kiss, it took them to that next level when it became a hit, and it took them to that next level. But it was originally written by Peter Criss and some other members of the band that he was originally in before Kiss. It was originally called Beck, and Bob had them change the name because Beck didn't sound like Beck was short for Becky, but Becky, I hear you calling, doesn't sound as good, and Beck, I hear you calling, you don't know if Jeff Beck was real big at the time.
That's the first thing
Beck, I hear you calling,
Jeff Beck.
Why is Peter Criss singing about Jeff Beck? What? So they changed it to Beth. Huge song for them, and like I said, I respect it, and I wore the Catman makeup, man. When I was a kid, when I dressed up, and I was dressed up as the Catman, and I'm a drummer, but this isn't a drummer song. There's not a lick of drums in it. It's orchestra. I appreciate it for what it is. It's a very well written song, but it's just, it brings this album down a little too much in speed and in overall intensity. It brings it down a little too much. I could see why Paul didn't like this song and didn't want to record it. Gene told Peter, take it back to Bob, and Bob overrode Paul. And so like I said, this was essentially Bob's album. So Bob overrode Paul, and it became the biggest hit of Kiss's career. But as far as what I score it a 4.
Wow, I scored it significantly higher than you. That's a surprise. But I also listen to a lot of orchestra music. So I give it a 6. I like this kind of music. But there is such a way that you can do orchestral music with rock music. Like, for example, one of my more favorite albums, Kiss Alive 4 with the symphony. Once you get halfway through, the Melford Orchestra, I think it is, that plays with them. And that album is dynamite. And that's the way that an orchestra should be incorporated into a Kiss song, I think.
Right.
So, just the way that they executed it on this song, I don't believe... I mean, clearly, Bob had a vision for this song, and it skyrocketed them to limits that they never knew without this song.
Right.
So financially, it made sense. But for people who are on the other side of the producing, wearing the headphones, listening to it in their cars, you get to this song, and it's, okay, we got Peter singing his first song on the album, and it's orchestra.
Yeah, like I said, to me, it's one of the low points of the album for me. So that's all for that one.
That's all. That's it.
All right. So we're gonna go to the last track of the album, "Do You Love Me." I'm a big fan of this song. I like the way the drum beat carries this song and starts it. I like the way the guitars come in, that dun dun. Paul's voice is great in this song. Matter of fact, I honestly like all of Paul's songs on this album. I realized that as I got done, I looked back and I'm like, wow, I like every one of Paul's songs on this. That kind of surprised me because I'm not always the biggest Paul fan, but it's got great riffs. It's in the wrong place. It is not the song to close this album. But other than that, it's a great song, and I scored it an 8.
Scored it an 8? Wow. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so let me just elaborate on what you said real quick about this, you liking most of Paul's songs. I think that is because that I think it is clear among Kiss that Paul is the best songwriter. That's my opinion, but I think it's very clear that he wrote Firehouse when he was 16. That's a great song. And I think him having the ability to work with someone like Bob, just
made him a better songwriter.
Made him even better.
I think Paul got better after this. I mean, Paul on Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun
he's got some of the best songs on his album. And he has some of the best songs on this album, in my opinion. But this type of song from Kiss, as you know, these are the types of songs that I struggle to listen to. I give it a 3. I had to skip this song on 2 of my listen-throughs out of like 4 or 5. I can't remember.
That's why I love reviewing with him.
Because
he's the yin to my yang.
I listened to Original Destroyer 2 times, and I listened to Resurrected 2 times because I want to listen to the difference in production quality. And I couldn't make it through either on the original production. And I don't know why. See, that's the thing. The song is so good. The music is so good. But the lyrical content, I'm just like, this is the type of stuff I can't get over. Because when you grow up in an age where everything is a love song, you get numb. It's cliche.
Yeah. And I will admit that's the one thing that I probably, I wish I had $1 for every time he says, "Do you love me?" in the song.
Yes.
Because, it's one of those songs that's like, oh, I wonder what the name of this song is, because it must be "Do You Love Me?" because he says it 40,000 times.
If it's not "Do You Love Me?" then,
right.
I'm not even going to make a bet because it's "Do You Love Me?"
Right, exactly. So, So you gave it a
I
3.
closed it out with a 3. I'm
All
sorry.
right. So
if you get 2 skips out of 4 playthroughs,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
So that's all the songs. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to talk about. I'm going to give my scores and my rating, and then Stephen will give his scores and his rating, and then I'm going to do my optimal track list, and I'm going to do it on the fly because I forgot to write it down. So here we go.
Risky.
I know. So I scored Detroit Rock City a 10, King of the Nighttime World a 9, God of Thunder a 6, Great Expectations a 3, Flaming Youth a 6, Sweet Pain a 7, Shout It Out Loud at 8, Beth a 4, Do You Love Me at 8. It's a total of 61 divided by 9. That is 6.77 for my total score for the album.
Okay. And for recap for me, Detroit Rock City is at 8. King of the Nighttime World is 5. God of Thunder is 6. Great Expectations is 5. Flaming Youth is 8. Sweet Pain is 5. Shout Out Loud is 7. Beth is 6. And Do You Love Me is 3. Giving me a total score of 5.88888888.
5.88. So I'll have to go back and look, but I believe this puts, I don't have that on here either, but I believe this puts Destroyer second under Alive. So it would be Alive, Destroyer, Dress to Kill, Kiss, and then Hotter Than Hell for me on that. So I'll put that up on there with my scores and everything. But now,
but see, your Detroit Rock City really carried this one for you too.
yeah, it did.
Because you had a
Detroit Rock City and King of the Nighttime World. I mean, that to me, those two songs are a 1-2 punch. It's like you come out and Detroit Rock City pops you in the jaw. And then for me, King of the Nighttime World just follows right after it.
Yep. For you, they might as well not even be 2 separate songs.
Right, yeah. Okay, so if I could retract this thing, what I would do is I definitely would keep Detroit Rock City exactly where it is, King of the Nighttime World exactly where it is. So I'd have Detroit Rock City first, King of the Nighttime World second. I would move Flaming Youth behind the King of the Nighttime World, and then I would finish with Great Expectations. Then I would start the second side off with God of Thunder, and then put Sweet Pain. And then I would have Do You Love Me, then I would have Beth, and then I would end the album with Shout It Out Loud.
You'd end it with Shout It Out Loud?
Mm-hmm.
I'd end it with Flaming Youth. I agree with everything else, but I'd switch the places of Shout It Out Loud and Flaming Youth. I'd end it with Flaming Youth or Beth.
Mm-hmm.
It ended on the soft note, you know.
Right. So overall, Destroyer, awesome album. Really good. I like it. I knew I was going to like it. I knew that there was more songs I liked on it that I didn't like on it. So what about closing thoughts on Destroyer for you?
Closing thoughts on Destroyer. It did not score as high as I anticipated. Probably because I was very selective about what songs I listened to off of it in the past. I would listen to the songs that I knew I liked and kind of skip around, which is a luxury you have when you grow up in the 21st century, and you don't have to skip through CDs. You just tap a song and it plays.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say this. Resurrected is definitely better.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want a suggestion from me, this is the definitive version of this album, bar none. So if you're a first-time Kiss listener, which if you're watching this video, why? And second of all, if you're going to listen to Destroyer and you haven't listened to it yet, listen to Resurrected, because I spent a lot of time in my car switching back and forth between the tracks. I had them lined up in a playlist, and I would just switch back and forth between songs, and the mix is so much better. Now, if you want to be faithful, then go ahead, listen to Original Destroyer. But this is where it's at, sound-wise.
Okay. And there you go. That's it. And the next album that we will be reviewing is
a Kiss album I've never listened to.
A Kiss album that Steven has never listened to. I've watched enough Kiss album reviews to know that this album has die-hard fans. So him being a newbie, I'm really curious, and you should be too, to see exactly how he scores this album, because I might not score this album. You may have probably already picked up some predictions on me and how I'm predictable. Do I like this album? Do I not like this album? Is this going to end up being my new favorite Kiss album? You'll find out next week. We try to have them out on Tuesdays. And we will see. I'm going to have him start. His homework is going to be to start listening to this album. And we'll see what he thinks about it. So until then, this is Brant. And
I'm Steven.
And thank you again, as always. And we'll see you in the next review.
Well, there's the end of the show, man.
Let's build the set back.
Yeah.